They said it was the future of food. Kinder, cleaner, smarter. But what if it was just another illusion? Carefully branded, thoroughly monetized, and silently destructive? What if saving the planet became just another business model? What if your deeply personal, ethical choice to go cruelty-free was repackaged, rebranded, and sold back to you by the very companies that built the system you're trying to escape? Welcome to Twisted Plot. Here we uncover the untold stories that shape our modern world and look beyond the propaganda and established narrative. And today, we're delving into the narrative of veganism. So without further ado, let's dive deep into it. First, let's know a few things about veganism to gain a better perspective. What exactly is veganism and how is it different from vegetarianism? Veganism is a lifestyle and dietary choice that goes beyond vegetarianism. It involves avoiding the consumption of any animal-derived products or byproducts and rejecting the use of animals for any purpose. It's a philosophy that aims to minimize harm to animals and promote a more sustainable and ethical approach to human living. History and evolution. The roots of veganism can be traced back to ancient civilizations and religious practices that emphasize nonviolence and compassion towards all living beings. Followers of Buddhism, Hinduism, and Jainism advocated vegetarianism, believing that humans should not cause pain to other animals. The word vegetarian can even be traced back to the Greek philosopher and mathematician Pythagoras of Samos around 500 BCE. It kept popping up every now and then. However, the term vegan was coined in the 1940s by Donald Watson and a group of vegetarians who wanted to differentiate themselves from vegetarians who still consume dairy and eggs. The vegan movement has been picking up steam in recent years. The global vegan food market size was $23.31 billion in 2020 and is projected to grow from $26.16 billion in 2021 to $61.35 billion in 2028 at a CAGR of 12.95% during the 2021 to 2028 period. It is celebrated for its potential to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, conserve water resources, prevent animal cruelty, and fight against deforestation. However, beneath the surface, there are things that no one really gets to know much about. The vegan movement gained momentum in the latter half of the 20th century, fueled by influential literature, documentaries, and the rise of social media. It has expanded beyond dietary choices to encompass various aspects of life, including fashion, personal care products, and even entertainment. The major driving force behind this expansion has been the focus on cruelty-free alternatives. It evolved over time, but as farming became more industrialized, concerns about the environmental impact and health risks associated with a 100% vegan diet also intensified. Currently, according to available data from open sources and research papers online, there are approximately 88 million vegans worldwide, which is about 1.1% of the total global population. Keep this figure in mind. We'll need it later in the video. Now let's get to what we actually know and what lies beyond the propaganda. The main argument given in favor of veganism is that by not consuming animal-derived products, people are causing no harm to animals, making the world cruelty-free. But is that entirely accurate? philosophers Bob Fisher and Andy LeMay, respectively, from Texas State University and the University of California, San Diego, showed in the Journal of Agricultural and Environmental Ethics that animals are indeed harmed during harvesting. According to their research, around 7.3 billion animals are killed annually in crop monocultures. These are mice, moles, rabbits, and other rodents that are run over, massacred, and shredded by tractors or lose their habitat to make way for farming. They're not as visible as the larger animals we consume, but still, these are animals that get slaughtered. Then pesticides come into play. It not only kills the rest of the animals and rodents left in that crop field, but also kills a significant number of microorganisms in the soil. These pesticides then wash down into water bodies, like nearby lakes and rivers, causing dead zones. Dead zones are areas in water bodies that lack enough oxygen to support marine life. Nitrogen and phosphorus from agricultural runoff are the primary culprits, as an increase in chemical nutrients in the water leads to excessive blooms of algae that deplete underwater oxygen levels. These dead zones occur worldwide. They can occur naturally too, but are primarily found near areas where heavy agricultural and industrial activity introduce nutrients into the water, compromising its quality accordingly. Hypoxic dead zones cover 24.5 million hectares annually, and based on the increase over the past half-century, about 98% of them, around 24.01 million hectares, are caused by fertilizer runoff from intensified agriculture. It is estimated that 75.27 billion animals die each year as a result of hypoxic dead zones caused by crop agriculture. Furthermore, recent studies and research data share some mind-boggling data. Consuming plant products kills 1.03 times more animals per calorie, 5.4 times more animals per gram of protein, and 5.5 times more animals per serving than consuming animal products, according to data from the USDA Livestock Summary and USDA Poultry Summary. It's a simple calculation. Vegans need to eat more to get the right amount of calories with proper macro and micronutrients. Now let us go back to the current percentage of vegans worldwide, which is 1.1%, including the total consumption and the current scenario all over the world. If that figure increases even slightly, imagine the increase in farming and the challenges that will come along with it. Now let's talk about agricultural practices to meet up the growing need. Large-scale monocrop agriculture, often required to meet the demand for plant-based foods, can lead to habitat destruction, soil degradation, loss of biodiversity, and water pollution. According to a report published in 1990 by the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, over 50% of water pollution in streams and rivers is caused by the leaching and mixing of chemicals from agricultural practices. Moreover, the cultivation of certain crops such as soybeans, almonds, and avocados, which are staples in many vegan diets, can have detrimental effects on the environment. In South America, the world's leading soy producer, soy farming, is driving deforestation and the destruction of Brazil's Cerrado grasslands. These grasslands are home to over 3,000 unique plants, mammal, bird, reptile, and amphibian species. About half of this precious land has been converted into cropland and pasture, largely due to the soy industry, though a considerable percentage of this produce is used for the animal industry. But now, the growing consumption of vegans is going to increase the pressure on this ecosystem. These crops require vast amounts of water and contribute to water scarcity in the regions where they are grown. Additionally, Transporting these crops over long distances adds to carbon emissions, including packaging, offsetting the environmental benefits associated with a vegan lifestyle. The vegan revolution has also sparked increased demand for alternative plant-based products, such as soy-based meats and dairy substitutes. The production of these processed foods often relies on energy-intensive manufacturing processes and packaging materials, resulting in waste generation and further strain on the environment. According to recent data, plant-based meat alternatives produce the same amount of emissions as chicken. The global plant-based meat market was valued at $5.06 billion in 2022 and is expected to surpass $20.76 billion by 2030, exhibiting a compound annual growth rate of 19.3% during the forecast period 2022 to 2030. This has brought in the big giant companies that control the food market in this world. And these companies will always put profit first, don't you think? Let us check a few names, shall we? Unilever launched their Vegetarian Butcher plant-based meat brand. The company aims to increase its sales of plant-based meat substitutes to $1 billion per year in the next 5 years or so, 20 times more than what it sold in 2020. In 2020, Danone announced the creation of a new plant-based acceleration unit to meet its ambitions to increase plant-based sales globally from $2.1 billion in 2019 to $5.4 billion by 2025. Both companies want to go beyond vegan consumers and reach the much bigger market potential of flexitarians, people who just want to consume less meat and dairy. Now, my question to our viewers is, how do you achieve such numbers in sales? Marketing. Can you imagine the amount of marketing and propaganda these companies have the potential to do in order to achieve the results they aim to? They have the resources and power to do so. Smithfield Foods, the world's largest pork producer, launched its first plant-based protein food range under the brand Pure Farmland. Tyson Foods, one of the world's largest poultry, beef, and pork producers, introduced its plant-based range in 2019 under the Raised and Rooted brand. But can they? A close look at the plant-based Impossible Burger suggests that it is just another ultra-processed food product. Unilever goes as far as calling upon their customers to join them in their food revolution, unleash all animals from the food chain. But clearly, they want to continue making money in both markets. Tyson Food also claimed that they are committed to its growing traditional meat business and expect to be a market leader in alternative protein, which is experiencing double-digit growth and could someday be a billion-dollar business for the company. Many of the companies also claim that their plant-based food activities are good for the climate, but this is difficult to check as few of them are transparent about their emissions. According to the New York Times, plant-based food companies facing questions regarding their greenhouse gas emission. None of these big companies discloses the total amount of greenhouse gas emissions across all of its operations, supply chains, or consumer waste. They also do not disclose the effects across all of their operations on forests or how much water they use. While it is true that plant-based diets have a smaller carbon footprint compared to animal-based diets, the scale of production needed to sustain a growing vegan population presents its own set of environmental concerns. Vegan diets can be healthy, but they also require precision, planning, supplementation, and for some, it's unsustainable. They call it virtue on a plate, green smoothies, clean labels, righteous clicks, but sometimes the bright bowl hides a darker bill. In the medical record are real, quiet tragedies, infants who starved on extreme raw vegan regimens, their deaths later tied to severe malnutrition. An 18-month-old in Florida was found malnourished and later died, a case that turned into criminal charges and a blistering public debate about diet, neglect, and responsibility. Doctors publish other warnings. Breastfeeding by an unsupplemented vegan mother has, in documented reports, caused infant deficiencies that only corrected after medical intervention. And pediatric reviews are blunt. Poorly planned, plant-only feeding can lead to rickets, anemia, and failure to thrive in young children. Even adults aren't immune. Clinical case reports show severe B12 deficiency and neurological damage when supplementation is ignored. Not a condemnation of veganism, a warning. When ideology replaces nutrition, the cost can be life itself. But what's more troubling is the ideology. When a lifestyle becomes a belief system, when dissent becomes threat, things get dangerous. There have been reports of extreme vegan activists vandalizing butcher shops, trashing supermarkets, and destroying food meant for struggling families. Compassion weaponized. Ethics turned into aggression. We're not here to tell you what to eat. We're not defending factory farms, and we're not attacking your beliefs. We're asking what's really going on. Because no matter what we eat, something pays the price. The question isn't how to live without impact. It's how to live with less harm, more clarity, and no illusions. Because the world doesn't need another food trend. It needs truth. And the truth is, your ethics are being marketed. Your guilt is being sold. And your hope is someone's revenue stream. If this episode gave you something to think about, share it. Let others see the other side. Comment, debate, disagree. That's the point. We don't offer answers. We simply ask questions that everyone else seems to ignore. This is Twisted Plots, and this was The Vegan Illusion.